And we're honored to bring on a man who's had a very strong impact on the National Football League going back almost 50 years. The former head coach of the Colts and the Buccaneers. You know him as a Hall of Famer. NBC Sports author, Tony Dungy. Hello, Coach. How are you?
Hello, Brian and John. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for making time for us this morning. Excited to get into the broadcast booth for some playoff football on Saturday night?
I really am. I think we're going to have the best game of the week for sure.
Coach, give us a sense from your perspective on a national level of the job that Doug Pederson has done this year, coming in with, a train wreck of a franchise in January. They were just trying to figure out how to get it all back on the rails, and he's got him in the playoffs in 1 year.
Well, I have to tell you, I have a vote on the AP awards, and I voted for Doug for Coach of the Year because I think what he has done, I knew he would do well, and I knew he'd transfuse energy into this franchise and get them going. But I thought it would be a couple of years to really get it, and it clicked in after about 8 weeks. It's amazing. We had the Hall of Fame game for NBC. We were broadcasting, and I was down on the field before the game, just kind of watching, taking notes. And Josh Allen came up to me, and he said, "We are going to be on your show. We're going to be on Sunday Night Football by the end of the year. We're a good team. People don't know it, but I promise you we're going to be there." And we talked about that, and he was right. He said he could feel the energy. He thought Coach Pederson was the right person for them. And I felt that from everybody there. Guys were so excited that it was genuine, and they've done it.
Coach, I'm not sure how well you know Doug, but in working with you for the 7 or 8 years we worked together, and then working with Doug, so many similarities to me in terms of approach, in terms of the calmness, in terms of keeping things at an even keel. I'm wondering if you know him that well, and if you see some of those similarities.
I really do. I got to know Doug their Super Bowl year in Philadelphia. I was working for NBC. We had the game, and my assignment for the 2 weeks leading up to that was to track the Eagles and report on them. So I was in Philadelphia for a week, and I saw the same type of thing. I saw how the players talked about him. I saw their response to adversity. And that year, if you'll remember, Nick Foles had to take over for Carson Wentz. Wentz got hurt, and everybody said, "Oh, the season's over. We had a great run, but now it's not going to work." And none of the players felt that. Everyone felt Coach Pederson will figure this out. And that calmness and that sense of we're going to be okay, that's what he transmits.
Coach, this team has an incredible number of free agents that contribute for it. And I know when you were with the Colts, it was not a free agent-based team. But I'm wondering if you could speak to how difficult it is for a coach and for a team to come together the way this team has. All three wide receivers, or all three of their leading receivers, are new this year. Aluakun's new this year. Brandon Sheriff's new this year. That's a lot to come together in one off season.
And that's why I voted for Doug for Coach of the Year, because that is a difficult task. Usually that's a 2 or 3 year process. But he's molded these guys. He's gotten them going and gotten them together, and it's fantastic. I actually had phone calls with the 2 coordinators yesterday and today, and both of them, Press and Mike Caldwell, talked about just how these guys have stepped in. And he also said something very interesting to me. He said, "We didn't go after that big luminary, that $20 million star. We went after guys who were team players. We went after guys who were hard workers. We went after good teammates." And that's one thing, too, I think, evaluating who you want and who you're going to bring into the mix. And they brought some outstanding young people in there. I happen to know a lot about the Clemson program because I'm very close with Coach Sweeney and been around them. So when they drafted Trevor and Travis Etienne, there was no doubt in my mind the kind of people they were getting. And I think that's been the hallmark of this building process.
Coach, you had a team in Tampa that sort of came out of nowhere and I made the playoffs, and the city was electric, probably much the way Jacksonville is right now. What's Doug's task in getting this team to sort of thrive on that feeling but not have it overwhelm them? Is that a thing?
It really is. And you do want to build on that and build on that energy and emotion. I remember the year we made the playoffs in 1997 for the first time in Tampa. And our owners came over on that Monday and said, hey, we've got people buying tickets at the stadium. Do you want to go over and say hi to them? And we're going to pass out some donuts and juice. So I went over about 9 o'clock in the morning, expecting to see a line of 25 people. The line was all the way around the stadium. and that's the kind of energy. And we saw it, we saw it Saturday in Jacksonville. And I just think it's going to be an outstanding atmosphere. You want to embrace that as Jaguars players and coaches. You want to know, hey, our town is behind us. Our fans are behind us. But you still have to say, this is football, and we've got to go out and just execute just like we do in the regular season. Yes, the stakes are higher. Yes, everybody's going to be energized. But you know what? We've got to do our jobs the same way and not get too high.
Coach, you have a long history of defense in the National Football League as a player and a coach. So I'm curious your impressions of Mike Caldwell and the job he's done this year. They've been challenged statistically in some categories, but they have 27 takeaways. And just like last Saturday night, they seem in the last month through this winning streak to have a knack to make the play that they need to. That's not something that's easy to coach, I'm sure.
I love how they're building it because it does remind me so much of my groups. It's a lot of high energy players out there playing with speed. I think they emphasize that speed and athleticism over size. They do emphasize the takeaways. And that's how Coach Caldwell believes you win games. And he's got his guys believing that now. So they expect to make those game-changing plays. And yes, these offenses now in this day and age with the rules and with these quarterbacks you're playing, you're not going to shut people down. You're not holding people 180 yards in a game. Things are going to happen. But when you make the key plays, when you get to the third and long and you can get that sack, when you can get that forced fumble, that interception, that's what's going to turn the game around. Obviously, you look back at the first game against these two teams in week 3. Early interception, set the offense up, good field position, get the lead. That changes everything. And that's these guys' mindset.
Coach, you mentioned having a feel for Trevor before he came into the league. I'm just wondering your thoughts on him. You were with Peyton for a long time. I'm not asking you for a comparison there. But what kind of franchise quarterback can this kid be?
Very similar mindset. I see a lot of those same qualities. A guy who galvanizes his teammates. Everybody likes him. Everybody wants to be around him. But the thing that I think the biggest quality that Trevor and Peyton have is they hold themselves to a high standard. Trevor Lawrence wants to play well. When he makes mistakes, he takes it personally. So he's working hard. And when your quarterback is one of the hardest working players, then everybody else senses that they get in the same mindset, and he can hold them to a high standard. So I do see a lot of similarities.
And just one more from me, Coach, and that is you started a run of sustained excellence over a period of 10 years in Indianapolis. How hard is it? You get it started right here now with Doug and the job that he's done and his coordinators. What's the key to being able to be consistently competitive and to build that culture going forward?
I think the key is to build that atmosphere where people want to be there and they want to stay. What you're going to have now that the Jags have gotten a little success and they've got some good young players is, well, the next time around, how can we sign everybody? How can we spread this money around and keep everybody here? Well, you can't if people are saying, I'm just going to go to the highest bidder, because you're going to have individual teams that can outpay you. But when guys feel like, hey, we've got something going special here. I want to stay here. I want to be here and be part of this. And they're willing to sacrifice a little bit individually to stay in a good group. Then you keep the momentum going. They talk to their buddies, and free agents take a little bit less to come to a good atmosphere in a winning situation where you've got a chance to win a Super Bowl. So I think it's the atmosphere that you create. And I think Coach Pederson is the perfect person to kind of lead that way and establish that.
Coach, we are so grateful for your time this morning, and we're excited to have you in Jacksonville on Saturday night and show you what Duval's all about. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Have a wonderful day.
I'm actually coming over tomorrow to watch practice and do some interviews with the players and stuff. I'm very pumped up. Usually when I come to Jacksonville, it wasn't always pleasant, but this is going to be fun for me.
Looking forward to it, Coach. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Head coach Tony Dungy, what an honor to have him on. Just what he's meant, not just to football teams, franchises, but to the league as a whole. We're excited to have had him on this morning. We'll take a break, and when we return, we have got this or that.